Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today's video is going to be a meal prep with me. I'm gonna just kind of walk you through what I do, show you a few of those things, give you a couple recipe ideas. So I just kind of wanted you to see what I do to meal prep for a high carb, low fat, vegan diet. I don't use any added oil or anything like that. Yes, it's 100% possible. So the first thing I do when I meal prep is I just make a list on my cell phone, what I need to make. So I just say, this is all the things I need to check off from my list today in order to be happy with it. I'm not that great of a meal planner, so I will cook things in elements that kind of bring it together. So for example, I'll steam a bunch of potatoes, and so when I want potatoes, they're ready. And I'm gonna make a couple of soups today and just some toppings and that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I do is I get all of my stuff out that I'm gonna be working with so I can see it. I know what I need to be doing. What we're gonna do is get some things started that take time or that I have to do in batches. So I have to do my potatoes in batches in my Instant Pot. So I steam those. So the first thing I do is I wash all of my potatoes. So I've got about, I don't know, these are 10 pounds of gold potatoes. It's about 7 pounds of russet potatoes, and I have 4 sweet potatoes. So the sweet potatoes, I don't really have a plan with for the week. They need to get used. So that's what we're gonna do. So first thing I'm gonna do is I've already washed all of these. I'm going to put as many as I can fit in my Instant Pot. I'm gonna set it on pressure cook high for 12 minutes. I'm gonna put a little tray in the bottom, a little bit of water. I'm gonna steam those. The sweet potatoes I've washed. I'm gonna stick them in my air fryer. 390, air fry, 30 minutes. And that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those going. So the next thing I've done is I've already done this. I've just rinsed all of my produce that I'm gonna be using today except for my broccoli. So anything with kind of like an outer skin, I've already rinsed it in produce wash. I'm not gonna tell you which produce wash I use because I wouldn't recommend it. But there are tons online. You can just kind of search and see what works for you. So I've got all my produce washed. I'm going to now start on some other things that I can get cooking. So I'm gonna start on a couple of soup recipes. I'm going to be adapting these. One of them is the potato leek soup from the Lean for Life ebook. If you are interested in the Eat More, Weigh Less program, which is what I have done to lose over 12 pounds in the first 21 days of this month, of this year, the Eat More, Weigh Less program will be linked down below. You can use my link there, and they're doing half off for the rest of the month. So we got the rest of this week to go ahead and get in on that plan for half off. So Hannah has a potato leek soup in there. I'm gonna adapt it a little bit just to kind of fit what I like. So that's just what we're gonna do with that. And then I'm gonna make a minestrone soup, which is one of my absolute favorites. And my husband's kind of smiling because he likes that. So for the leeks come typically pretty long. And what you're gonna do is just wanna cut off kind of the fibrous, tough part of the leek. Now I have 2 bowls here. This is a trash bowl or a compost bowl, whatever. And this is to be used for a stock bowl. So you can use the tops. Go ahead and wash those if you're gonna use them for stock. Leeks come in these kind of layers, and you're just gonna go ahead and wash these really well because dirt gets caught in these layers super easily. So what I've done is I've just halved my leeks, and I'm gonna go ahead and just slice them. And I'm just gonna go ahead and slice all of my leeks the same way. So I've got my leeks in here, and then I'm gonna saute the onions and the leeks and the garlic at the same time. So what I'm gonna do is use about half of a medium-sized onion. All right, I'm gonna be using 3 big old cloves of garlic because we love garlic, and garlic's good for you. So I just take the side of my knife and smash it with the palm of my hand. You're good. Okay, the next things we're gonna need for this soup are gonna be some carrots. So again, I've already washed these. These are organic carrots, or else I probably wouldn't use the skin, but we love an organic carrot. So I'm gonna use about 2 large and 1 kind of smallish carrot. Again, I don't measure things very well. That's why I wing pretty much all of my recipes. Everybody's like, can you make a recipe for this? And I'm like, I'll try. Next thing we're gonna do is our potatoes. So remember these yellow potatoes that we already washed. We're gonna need about a pound of potatoes or so. Y'all know I ain't gonna weigh this out. I'm gonna just estimate. And I'm gonna cut these into chunks. Okay, so once all of my vegetables are cut for this, what I'm gonna do, put a little bit of water in a pan, saute these for about 3 to 5 minutes till they're soft. We're gonna add in the potatoes and the carrot. I'm also gonna put in this vegetarian better than bouillon, no chicken base. This is vegan. I had the vegetable base as well. The vegetable base would work just fine in this, but I tend to like this one for this kind of recipe, but you do you. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, so I've got that working away. The next thing I went ahead and did was get my vegetables ready for the minestrone soup. So I'm gonna be using 1 zucchini. I'm gonna use about 2 cups of green beans. These were fresh that I found on sale, and I just went ahead and froze them. So I'm gonna use what was left. I've got about 4 small carrots. We're gonna use this seasoned vegetable base. This is the other better than bouillon I was talking about. We're also gonna use a can of, these are great northern beans that I've rinsed and drained. You can really use any kind of beans. I think normal minestrone soup calls for red kidney beans, but I actually prefer these. So that's what I'm gonna use. I've got the rest of that onion, so half an onion and 3 cloves of garlic chopped up. And then I've also got these diced tomatoes with basil and garlic. These are delicious. I just like could sniff them. And then also something that I do, and whenever I make a pico de gallo, you're gonna see me use these. The middle of them is of the tomatoes is very liquidy, right? So I just save that bit and I put it in the freezer for a time such as this. And then at the very end, we're gonna add in some spinach, not that whole bag. And then also we're gonna be putting in some noodles. Typical minestrone soup calls for, I think it's called datelli or something. They're like little rounds. I have this organic elbow noodle, so that's what we're gonna use. We're gonna put everything in it once after we saute the onions and the garlic in some water. We're gonna put everything in it once with the exception of the spinach. So I'm gonna throw this together and I'll show you how it turns out. We're gonna put in also about 6 cups of water, 2 teaspoons of this better than bouillon. So let's go ahead and do that. So while I'm getting that soup cooking, I did want to go ahead and show you guys, I do cook some rice every week ahead of time just to have during the week. I like to have it under my soups. I like to have it with burrito bowls, sushi bowls, make sushi, whatever. So I've just rinsed and drained 2 cups of jasmine rice. I've got 2 cups of water. For my rice cooker, you literally just push the button down in it and it does it. So I'm gonna do that. All right, so the next thing that I'm gonna go ahead and get ready is going to be my potatoes for my mashed potatoes. So all I'm gonna do is I've got 5 big russet potatoes that are peeled. These are gonna get boiled once my steamed potatoes are done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these chopped up into cubes. All right, so I do a lot of multitasking because it just makes this go, much faster. So I've got 2 soups cooking. I've got potatoes cooking for my mashed potatoes. Got my sweet potato cooked. Got my rice going. So now I'm gonna work on just some kind of chopping things while those are happening. So I'm gonna work on some Pico de Gallo. Now this recipe is in the Lean for Life cookbook and I will put that link again down below. What I like to do is take out the middle of the tomatoes and, like I said, save those for a soup or something because the liquid can make this a little too liquidy. It's gonna get some liquid in it naturally because we're gonna add some salt, we're gonna add some lime juice. So you really don't need that additional liquid. If you just wanna add the middle, it's your food, add what you want. But this is how I choose to do it. So I've just got some Roma tomatoes here that, again, I've washed with my produce wash. So I'm gonna take about 10 of these or so. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing to all of them. Like I said, I just kind of cut around the middle section, cut off the end, put the middle section in a bowl, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut these up. I've also already cut up a half of a red onion and put that in my bowl. So let me go ahead and get these cut. All right, so I finished chopping up the tomatoes for this Pico de Gallo. I've also put in some jalapeno. I've used about 1.5 jalapenos, no seeds. You can use less, you can use more, depending upon how spicy you like it. I'm gonna use the juice of about 1.5 limes, maybe 2. To me, it just kind of depends on how juicy your limes are. And I love this little juicer here. Like, look at that, just easy peasy. And then we're gonna put in some cilantro as well. Now, cilantro isn't my favorite thing in the world, to be honest. I'm one of those people that doesn't like it, but I do think it really helps this, even though I don't really like cilantro. I know that sounds dumb, but I'm gonna put some in anyway. So I have my cilantro and also my parsley in this jar of water. It just helps it stay fresh longer. So I kind of have to, they look very similar, so if you don't know the difference, just, you'll be able to smell it once you take it off. So I'm gonna add in, I don't know, 3-4 tablespoons of cilantro. If you love cilantro, like a lot of people do, add in as much as you want. I'm just gonna chop up the cilantro. And the finer you dice it, the easier it'll get mixed in. So I'm just gonna chop this really finely. So I've got the cilantro in there. I've got the lime juice. The last thing to do is season it. So I'm gonna use some salt. If you're salt-free, just avoid the salt. I'm also gonna use a little bit of garlic powder. And I still add a little bit of cracked pepper because we like spice. And then you're just gonna mix it up. And this is in a glass container with a lid, and I'll just put this in the fridge. You do want to let it marinate a little bit. You can, of course, eat it fresh just like this. That's perfectly fine. But I like to let mine marinate. So that's done. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to finish off our soup. So we're going to start with the potato leek soup. So I'm gonna show you how to finish off this potato leek soup. So I'm gonna get my immersion blender. And if you want, you can totally put this in a regular blender. It's up to you. And then the last thing we're gonna add in as far as like liquids before we do this is gonna be some soy milk, and this is West soy. This is an unsweetened organic plain. And you're gonna use about a cup or so of this. I just kind of eyeball it. And then we're gonna add in a little bit of dill weed. I like this kind of tangy. I just think it's really good like that. I don't know. Again, I'm combining 2 of Hannah's recipes here, combining the potato and leek and then just the potato soup. And then she adds some Dijon mustard to hers. So I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of Dijon. I'm gonna stir this around, and then you'll just wanna salt it to taste. I'm not gonna add a ton of salt because I don't like it sitting in the fridge with a bunch of salt. I typically salt this when I'm serving it. And then also that bouillon that we use, remember, has got some salt as well. And then I'm gonna add in some black pepper. And my board looks a mess, but listen, this is real life. All right, so now we've got the minestrone soup done, and I just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like. I've added about 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning in here, salt, pepper, and that's it. And I'm just gonna put it in the fridge, and it will be so delicious throughout the week. And this is a perfect example of like a 50-50 plate, but it's a bowl, obviously, because you've got some beans in there, you've also got the pasta, and then the rest of it is pure vegetables. So I hope you guys try this one out. It is one of our weekly favorites. All right, and before I get into this next recipe, or a little bit of meal prep, I guess you could just say. I wanted to tell you guys why I do so much. So my husband and I both work full-time jobs from home. I only get a 30-minute lunch every day. I work in a call center, so I have to have my food pretty much ready to grab, heat up, or whether it's eating cold or whatever, needs to be ready to go, basically. I don't get off until 6:30 in the evening, so I don't feel like cooking too much. So I have all of these things ready so that whatever meal comes my way, I'm pretty much prepared to go ahead and have it. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is take these are called Kirby cucumbers. They're just little mini cucumbers, and I'm just gonna half them, take off the ends, and I'm gonna cut them into little bitty bits. And these have already been washed. They're so good. Okay, so I've done 3 servings of these cucumbers, which to me is about 3 of the Kirby cucumbers a piece. You know, just depending upon the size. So these don't last super long in the fridge, but they last better in a sealed glass container. So I've got these little like lock and seal containers, and I'll just pop these in the fridge. And I'm gonna show you real quick how I make the sauce for this. So again, this is in the Lean for Life book, but this is kind of my version of it. This is just a jar with the label that I didn't feel like getting off, so we're just gonna use that. So the first thing we're gonna put in is some soy sauce. I eyeball this, but again, the recipe is in the book, so I'm gonna use some soy sauce. Optional is gonna be, well, all of this is optional, I guess. I'm gonna use a splash of teriyaki sauce. It's just got some additional flavor to it. So just make sure the sauces you are getting are vegan and that they don't have fish sauce in them. This is one of those things that I assume probably not many people will have, but you can get this on Amazon for $6. This is called Yandu. This is a vegan umami flavoring. So it's like bouillon, but kind of not. It's just really rich in flavor, and I just put a few drops in there. Now, a lot of people like sesame oil in this. I'm oil free. I'm not gonna put sesame oil, but like 1 or 2 drops if you want to. And then I'm gonna use a splash of the seasoned rice vinegar. By a splash, I mean more than a splash. And then I'm gonna use some agave in this. Maple syrup works just as well, whichever one you want to use, for a little bit of sweetness. And then for a little bit even more tang, because that's the kind of person I am, I'm gonna add in half a lime juice. No salt in this, guys, because that soy sauce is very strong. And then I'm gonna use 1 sprinkle of garlic powder, just like 1/4 teaspoon, if that. I'm putting it in this jar because I can just put a lid on it, shake it up, and then put that in the fridge. Once I'm ready, I take some sesame seeds, take my sauce. This smells so good. Put my sauce on it, and you're all set. You could also add a little bit of water to this if you wanted it to be kind of less potent. So that's my cucumber salad meal prep. All right, so these are my cooked potatoes for the mashed potatoes. So someone in our group shared that they make mashed potatoes, put them into a brick, let them cool, and then they turn them into tots in the air fryer. So that's what I'm gonna be trying. So I've got my potatoes. There is a little bit of the starchy liquid in there. I've also reserved some just in case. I'm gonna add a splash of West soy. We're gonna add some salt. I like a good amount of salt. You do you, whatever works for you. Some pepper. And a little garlic powder, because that's how we roll. And then Hannah always puts lemon juice in her mashed potatoes, which I've never done before. So I'm gonna just put like a little squeeze, just like a little. Okay, we'll go for the whole half lemon because it's there. And then we're just gonna mash, and we're gonna check the consistency. And if we need more of something, I'll add it. I've never once measured anything for mashed potatoes in my entire life. I don't plan on starting today. So I ended up putting a little nutritional yeast in this because it just sounded good. So I've got these containers, plastic, I know. But these are flat, so they will be really good for this because we're trying to make these into like cuttable brick. I'm just gonna get rid of that. So I'm not gonna make these too thick. I don't think. I'm not gonna make these too thick. I'm just gonna do kind of like a layer. I don't know, we'll see. All right, so one of the last things that I need to do, and then I'll show you how we kind of pull this all together, is I need to cut my broccoli for my breakfast and wash it. So what I've got here is some broccoli, surprise. And what I do is I cut the big stems off, I put them in this salad spinner, and then I take one of these containers and I measure it out for my breakfast every day. All right, so I figured I would do this outro in the fridge because that's where everything is now. So I did film a pantry and fridge tour if you're interested in what kind of condiments and everything we keep in here. I rearranged my fridge this week and I think it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna just walk you through everything that we've done during our 2-hour meal prep. We have gold potatoes. These are my breakfast potatoes. I have russet potatoes. I have 4 roasted sweet potatoes. I have 5 containers of broccoli. Pico de Gallo, 2 containers of mashed potatoes, container of rice. These are hash browns that I should have cooked a while back. Behind that, I have 3 containers of Minestrone Soup, 3 containers of boiled cabbage, 3 containers of cucumber slices, 10 containers for lunch, so that's my husband and I for 5 days. These are just some leftover black beans and some hummus. And then I've got all of my produce washed and ready to go. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.